Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
My dear friend John Bond sent this to me, and quite frankly, this really is the truth. The judges who said we don't need to stand up for the national anthem expect us to stand when they enter the room. What do you suppose would happen if they came into the courtroom and everyone took a knee? Morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America on a Wednesday. Morning, 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 morning. Call in with the Pledge of Allegiance. Here we go. And a good morning to you and your family. Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, and want to make sure that you're ready and prepared for wintertime driving with the best of tires. Don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers, like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Number to call, 678-1191, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Morning.
Well, hi, Lorna. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear friend, and thank you, Lorna, for calling in this morning. We appreciate it. God bless you. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
God bless you.
All right. Thank you. Nice lady. I apologize if sometimes my voice gets a little weak today. I don't know what happened, whether I slept wrong or whatever. But yesterday it started getting weaker and weaker and weaker, and occasionally it just goes boop, and it's gone. So bear with me. Right now it's time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn, right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. The number to call, 678-3122. And you know as well as I do that this weather's going to go right off the edge of the table here pretty quick and get real cold and possibly a lot of snow, and you may need the heaters to keep the old pipes running or whatever. They've got all the heaters you need right there with Roger and the crew at K&R Rental on the Burley-Paul Highway. Number to call, 678-3122. Right now, here's the weather.
We are in a wind advisory, so if you drive a high-profile vehicle, please be careful. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. We're looking at cloudy skies for today, and we are in a wind advisory. Gusts possible as high as 40 miles an hour, steady winds out of the west, 20 to 25 miles an hour. Mostly sunny skies for today, high of 42 tonight. Partly cloudy skies, winds dying down just a little bit, low of 30. Tomorrow we do have a 20% chance of rain showers in the afternoon. Mostly cloudy skies, high near 48. Still going to be windy and could see gusts as high as 30 miles an hour for Thursday night. 40% chance of rain and or snow showers in the forecast with a low of 36. And for Friday, partly sunny skies and 44. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Appreciate it. And it sounds like with the wind up to 40 miles an hour, boy, if you don't have stampede strings on your hat, you better put one on. Right now today, if you chase hats like I do, not very well, we're in trouble. Hey, K&R Rental brings you the weather on the Burley-Paul Highway, 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn, and they've got all the heaters, they've got all the tools, they've got all the equipment, and they've got all the knowledge to help you with what you need. Roger and the crew at K&R Rental, 678-3122. Oh, my goodness, have we got a full plate today. And some excellent, excellent guests. Now, we're going to have at 9:06 Dave Bigo. He's kind of a stalwart on this program. Businessman back in Indianapolis, Indiana. Then we're going to be introducing a brand new book that's coming out by S.C. Steve Sherman. It's called Lone Wolf Canyon. And this book was written with the setting here in Idaho. It's going to be really interesting. And it's a book of fiction, but there's a lot of truisms in that book. Then at 10:06, we're going to discuss guilty as charged, and you're guilty and not proven innocent. We're going to be talking about how the women in this country pointing their fingers at men saying, you are guilty, and the media and the public all say, okay, send him to the guillotine. Attorney Michelle Owens is going to come on the program. Then at 10:30, I have been looking forward to getting this man on my program for a long time. Western aficionado and historian of Western movies, Bob Terry from Texas, is going to be on the program. I'm looking forward to that. That's kind of my hobby. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday for all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. And I stress this. How many businesses do you know, really the percentages are very low, that have been in business for well over a half a century? Wow. They are the best at what they do. Stop in and see them today. Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley. That number again, 678-0459. By the way, too, I want you to remember that if you get hungry, and holy smokes, I've been on a self-imposed diet since basically the Christmas holidays. I didn't really get too far off the wagon, if you will, and there were a couple of days, couple of times that I kind of gorged myself, but I'm on a self-imposed diet, and I got to be honest with you, I'm not a happy camper. I wished I could just say, I'm going to Denny's restaurant. I'm going to order anything I want on the menu, and oh, it is good. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, anytime, all the time, with all the menu choices. And Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and they have another location of America's Diner at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. They have hit a home run right out of the park, serving you with the best of food and the best of people at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. You stop in and see them today. I'm going to kind of talk about a situation here real quick. I'm not going to turn this into a sports hour, but I've been a little hesitant to say my opinion on this until it was all over. But I think that the University of Central Florida absolutely was gypped, cheated, and defrauded of an opportunity to play for the national championship against either Alabama or Clemson. And the reason I say that, and I think anybody that really follows football will understand, the University of Central Florida went 13-0, undefeated. Now, for those that really didn't follow it, they're going to say, well, they were just a smaller school. They're not as good as Alabama, and they're not as good as Clemson. No, you would be wrong. The Central Florida football team defeated Auburn, and they had beaten Alabama, and they had beaten Georgia, and they went 13-0 this season, undefeated, and they did not even get an invite to be acknowledged or play in the national title. I think the way the college rankings, and I think the way this is set up, is fraudulent and almost criminal. They should at least have a chance, an opportunity to play the winner of that game the other night. And then we'll really have a national champion. Why should this school, that they only ranked 6th in the nation, with a perfect, unblemished record, be subjected to not having an opportunity to play for the national title trophy? It blows my mind. It is so senseless. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I just don't understand the thinking and the power of some of these people that have the mentality of a frisbee. Hey, today, going on over at the Pomerell place, they have what they call Warm Up Wednesday. And this is really kind of a neat deal. You can come in and take a tour and have soup or whatever. I mean, it's really a nice place to visit at 1301 Bennett Street in Burley, Pomerell Place, a place for senior living. I'm telling you, these people are so professional. They are so nice. And it just feels like home when you walk in the door. And it's a place for seniors that absolutely, it offers the ability for seniors to maintain their independence both safely and comfortably. Call them, please, 677-8212. Pomerell Place, 1301 Bennett Street in Burley. All right, let's crack the ice a little bit. Come on, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I know there's a lot of anti-Trump people in the audience. Well, I think a lot of your hatred, I think a lot of your animus, and I think a lot of your not really understanding the man came to the forefront yesterday. I was so impressed, and believe me, I make my own opinions. Nobody else tells me at any time what to do, who to have on this program, or what to say. That's not going to happen. I was so impressed with the way that the cameras were allowed to go into a very, very, what could have been explosive meeting between President Trump heading up the meeting, the Democrats and the Republicans. And normally at those kinds of meetings at the White House, they will have their gratuity 10 minutes of the media taking pictures and the media maybe having a chance to conduct a couple of questions to either the president or the Speaker of the House or the majority leader, whatever. And then the president will normally look at the cameras and say, okay, media, thank you very much. We have business to take care of and you are excused. And that's the end of it. Well, yesterday, something happened at the White House that has not happened before. President Trump did not excuse the media. He did not tell the cameras to shut down. He didn't tell anybody anything. They were allowed to stay in that room and record exactly what was going on with the arbitration and the deliberation of the Republicans versus the Democrats on DACA and border security. It was so revealing to me that President Trump was absolutely in complete control. Underline those words. And to these nitwits, Democrats and liberals, and especially some of the absolute revolting left-wing media that have said, oh, the man has mental instability, oh, the man can't think for himself, oh, the man can't keep one thought ahead of the other in his mind. It blew that theory or those theories out of the water. Donald Trump was in control. Donald Trump was presidential. Donald Trump knew exactly where to head that meeting. He controlled the whole tone of the meeting, and he gave an opportunity for everyone that wanted to speak at that meeting. He was very articulate about all aspects of that discussion, and to say different would be a lie. I was thoroughly impressed. He did something yesterday that Obama, Bush, anybody, Clinton never has done before. opened up the world to see exactly what's going on with the communications between the parties on really, really hard issues to settle, and did a tremendous job. I think the Democrats and the liberal media really had a large poached egg on their face. And even, listen to this, folksies, even CNN with Wolf Blitzer and others were so taken aback that they complimented, yes they did, yes they complimented President Trump. And that is Heart Attack City. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Dino Septic Service in Rupert. Recently, they purchased Dennis Dockstetter's pumping service, and boy, they're getting bigger to serve you all the time, anytime. With the best of liquid waste removal and sewer and sink drain lines cleaned and septic tanks pumped. I mean, all of this and more. These are nice people. I ran in and met them during the Christmas holiday break. And boy, I tell you, they're good, fast, fair-friendly service, and they've got 2 telephone numbers. Over in Rupert at 436-6526 and in Burley at 678-1638. I'm telling you, they're the best because they've worked for me. I can tell you that. It's a testimonial. Dino Septic Service in Rupert with a big truck called Smells Cargo on the way. Call them today. They are good. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, you have days where the phone lines are just all lit up, and then you have days where did everybody go? Give me a call, please, 436-2244. Well, I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in. I want to talk about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Hello, Nick Greenwell and all of his staff. He has hired the best physical therapists to work with and for you. And they know all the exercises, and they've got that Burley physical therapy hydrotherapy pool, the only one of its kind in the area. And I urge you to give a call to them. Make an appointment. You'll be so glad you did because they can help you get back to feeling like you. 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Absolutely the best. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. There's one thing on what you're just talking about, Zeb. Did you notice? I about fell over when I heard this. Chuck Schumer even was saying something about, I think we've got something that we can work with.
Yeah.
And what have you, instead of always saying, that ain't going to work, this is going to be bad for the country, and that's going to be bad for the country. Trump's up the wrong tree on it and stuff like that. And yesterday he actually said, well, maybe we've got something here where we can, both Democrats and Republicans, we can work on it.
Absolutely.
Fell over.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something. I don't know exactly if it was Trump's decision or a party of the administration, but I will tell you that according to the sources that I talked to earlier this morning back in Washington, D.C., this will not be the last time that you will see some of these meetings on radio, television, and the media covering them. It may turn into a trend because what it did yesterday, and you're right on top of it, sir, what it did is it forced these people on both sides of the aisle to try to make an olive branch to say that they would work with each other and get these problems solved. The media was right there listening to their words as it happened, and I'll tell you what, it was a great idea.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And if they do more of this, he'll really show up on Obama, because you remember when Obama kept saying, we're going to be the most transparent administration this country has ever seen.
Yeah.
And he hit everything. And now Trump's just doing exactly that. It's a transparent, everything's right there on the table.
It was outstanding to watch, and I had just finished my lunch, and I was going to start heading out the door to do some work, and I thought, whoa, wait a minute, I want to see this. And it was great. Sir, I hope you're having a good day, and thank you for your call.
I am.
God bless you.
Too.
All right, sir.
Have a great day, too.
Thank you very, very much. Nice man right there.
Bye-bye.
Hey, I could not believe this video. And if you get a chance to see this on the news, it was amazing how completely out of control this situation went in Louisiana. A teacher was asking at a board meeting, it was a board meeting, and she had raised her hand, she did everything the right way, that she wanted to speak on behalf of her thoughts on a very certain subject. A teacher was asking tough questions of school board members in the Vermilion Parish School District in Louisiana, and while she was asking her question, and what it was about was why in that area was the superintendent being given a $30,000 a year raise, and the teachers weren't getting anything. No, they were still teaching at the levels of 3, 4, and 5 years. And she asked a question as to why they thought that was a benefit to give this particular superintendent a $30,000 a year raise, and all of a sudden, the board members signaled for a policeman to come over to her, tell her to be quiet, and she would not. She had her time. She was doing it very respectfully. I have seen the video. And it ended up that they took her out in the hallway of the meeting. The police officer threw her on the ground, handcuffed her, and escorted her out of the building and arrested her. Holy cow. The security officer, with the nod and a wink from the school board and the $30,000 increased superintendent, absolutely told the cop to get rid of her. And out into the hallway, and away she went. I don't think that we have heard the last of this, hopefully. And I'm going to stay on top of this story. This lady paid her bond and left the jail. And according to the superintendent, she had violated the rules of the meeting. Really? And all she did was ask a question that other teachers wanted the answer for also. Why is this superintendent getting a $30,000 a year raise, and we, the teachers, get nothing? Bam! She ends up in jail. That's America? Wow. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget, every Monday we give away a dozen cookies. At this time, we're pretty doggone close, and thanks to Sophie's Chatterbox. They're located at 530 East Street in Rupert, right on the square. What a bakery. All the pies, cookies, cakes. Oh, my, they're good. All the bread. And then they also have a super restaurant right there at Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. They are great. Thank you very much. And you know what? There's no excuse whatsoever if a family member falls and gets a sprain or a strain or has a severe cut or whatever it might be, that you're sitting there going, oh my goodness, I don't know if we can get into the doctor or whatever. Don't worry about it. Just head for one of the urgent cares. You'll be treated, not seated. No appointment necessary, and they've got qualified providers always on staff. They're open 7 days a week with extended hours and 3 locations. Please let me tell you where they are. Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, 382 North Overland in Burley, easy to find. And really good people. Along with Urgent Care of Jerome at 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. And right there on Addison Avenue East, Urgent Care of Twin Falls, 2392 Addison Avenue East. I'm telling you, they absolutely are helping you save money on your health care, and they are there to serve you. Stop in, give them a call, and I'll guarantee you they can help serve you and your family and your business with a lot of drug screening, DOT physicals, etc. at the urgent cares. All right, come on, folks. You've been so dependable. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I had a telephone call last night from a very, very dear friend, and we were discussing something that maybe it doesn't bother you, but it does me. Because in this age of giving all the goodies to people that are not working, people that are not responsible for themselves or their family, and people that really do not have the incentive to try to get up off the couch and try to better their situation, I get a little bit miffed. And I'm watching my words. That's not exactly what I wanted to say. But here's something that makes me upset. And I know there are circumstances in every story that maybe you have to have a little leniency. But think about this. Did you know that if you receive Medicaid, you are eligible to receive a free cell phone with over 250 and in some cases close to 500 free minutes, and you do not have to do a thing. You just go in and get your phone, and like I said, in some instances, it's good for up to 500 minutes a month, and we pay for it. Oh, we're so happy. Yeah. You can qualify for a phone from various companies if you participate in any of the following government aid programs. Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or better known as SNAP. Medicaid, I'm just going to generalize some of these categories. Tribally administered temporary assistance for needy families. Food distribution programs on Indian reservations, or supplemental security income, or Bureau of Indian Affairs general assistance. Oh, yeah, just go on in. Get your phone. You see, my animus about this is there are a lot of people, and you know this is true, that absolutely are not going to try to project themselves into a better living on their own because everything is being handed to them. Here's your food. Here's your health care. Here's your phone. Here you go. You don't have to work for it. And there are abusers to any system. Now, as I was looking through here, I did not see anything in the line of a government assistance program for a phone and free minutes for our elderly that are just absolutely barely scraping by and are on tight as a noose budgets, and they don't qualify. They're trying to keep their pride intact by paying their bills and everything else, but they don't qualify. But for those on Medicaid and some of the other categories that I mentioned, to which we're not doing anything to weed out the ones that are abusers to the system, here, you've got a free phone in 500 minutes. What are your thoughts on this? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. If I don't get any calls on this subject, I guess you're just not interested in it. So let me know, please. I'd like to hear. Barry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts. And they have 3 locations to serve you: South Lincoln in Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, with old Juan and the crew. Juan wasn't there last week, so we talked to Jamie. Good guys. Really sharp young men over there at Barry Equipment and Rental. And whatever the equipment you need for the various jobs that you need to get done right, they can help. They will help. And they've got all the different shapes and sizes of the Bobcats, itty-bitty ones all the way to great big ones, and new and used for sale or rent. Stop in today or give them a call. Barry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts. Jerome, Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Now I hear a phone ringing, but it's not here for the program. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Holy moly, come on, give me your thoughts on free phones, and they're getting smartphones too. They're not getting the little cheap flip phones. Say that fast 5 times. They're getting the smartphones. They're getting the best of everything. They're getting one of these smartphones. They're providing a really nice smartphone, unlimited texting, and 350 minutes a month at our expense. Aren't you glad that you're the provider for all these cell phones? We're paying for it, our tax dollars. Oh, and we're paying for our own cell phones and minutes. So we're just being so doggone nice to everybody else. What are your thoughts? Come on, give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Next Tuesday, I want to remind you again that we're going to start at 9:30 on next Tuesday, the 2018 Legislative Update. And it's going to be brought to you and sponsored by Handy Truck Lines. I absolutely thank Clay and the rest of the crew. Great people serving you in this entire area. Handy Truck Lines bringing us the Legislative Update next week starting time, 9:30 right here on Zeb at the Ranch. And as I said, I talked to Representative Fred Wood a couple of weeks ago, and I said, Fred, what should we do? Start it the week that the session starts, or should we wait a week and let the dust kind of settle in on some of these topics? And he said, let's start her on the 16th, and that's what we're going to do next Tuesday. So give us a call and talk to your legislators while we're on the air with the Legislative Update. All right, come on, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. What do you think about former Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio? I mean, this guy has been dragged through the ringer when the Obama administration was in power. They did everything they could to hurt this man. They did everything they could to stop and stymie his picking up and deporting and getting rid of illegal aliens. Well, right now, he is, and by the way, he was spared a possible jail sentence when President Donald Trump pardoned him. And now this man, at 85 years of age, 85 years of age, is going to run for the Senate seat. That's right. He is planning on running for the Senate seat of Jeff Flake in Arizona. What are your thoughts on that? 85, and like I said, sharp as a tack. Wow, I listened to him on the television last night. Joe Arpaio trying to run for the Senate. All right, come on. Wheels, what did you do? Turn off the phone, or did you fall asleep over there?
No, I'm here.
You're there.
I am here. It's, you gotta, it's kind of like an eagle perched up on the top of a tree just watching everything.
No, you're a vulture.
That's how it is with the phone.
You're a vulture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. A big, mean vulture waiting to answer that phone. All right. We'll have more in just a minute. But right now, I think what I'm going to do is just kind of say, hey, come on, give us a jingle on the landline. We'd like to hear from you. And we'll do the weather forecast. I'll get that taken care of real quick. Normally, I'm always late. This time, I'm almost on time. And the weather brought to you this hour. Come on, give me a jingle, 436-2244. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with the lovely doctor of audiology, Christine Pickup, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. And all you need to do is call them. Make an appointment so that you can get in and have your hearing checked and take a hearing screening. It's not going to hurt. No, it's kind of fun, really. And they will and they can help you. So please give them a call today, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, start it up, and here's Gina with the weather.
We are in a wind advisory, so if you drive a high-profile vehicle, please be careful. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. We're looking at cloudy skies for today, and we are in a wind advisory. Gusts possible as high as 40 miles an hour, steady winds out of the west, 20 to 25 miles an hour. Mostly sunny skies for today, high of 42 tonight. Partly cloudy skies, winds dying down just a little bit, low of 30 tomorrow. We do have a 20% chance of rain showers in the afternoon. Mostly cloudy skies, high near 48. Still going to be windy and could see gusts as high as 30 miles an hour for Thursday night. 40% chance of rain and or snow showers in the forecast with a low of 36. And for Friday, partly sunny skies and 44. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
And Gina, thank you very much for that weather forecast. Brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Dr. Christine Pickup has been an audiology doctor for well over 10 years, and she knows and she can help you. Please call them today, 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. All right, your turn. My goodness, some of our old standbys and everything, well, they must have slept in this morning. Give us a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You can talk about whether you thought it was a good idea or a bad idea to open up the cameras and the media at that meeting at the White House yesterday. You can tell me about Sheriff Joe Arpaio, too old, 85. I think the guy's really sharp and could be an asset, quite frankly. We can talk about that teacher being tackled and handcuffed, a female teacher down in Louisiana, for just questioning why the superintendent is getting a $30,000 raise. Or we can talk about this. NBC Sports has come out and said that at the Super Bowl this year, they will show the football players that are stupid enough to take a knee at the biggest football game anytime, anywhere, the Super Bowl. What are your thoughts about this? And their reasoning was they want to show diversity. Oh, my goodness. And you would think at the Super Bowl, I mean, you would have two teams. And by the way, one team that never had, all this season, never had a person or a player or any member of their staff kneel during the national anthem or take a seat. And they have been the arch enemy of my team all these years, and that, of course, is the Minnesota Vikings. Never had one single player take a knee or act in an unrespectful or disrespectful manner against our flag and our country. And they may have a pretty good chance of making it all the way to the Super Bowl. But NBC's philosophy on this, it leaves me cold as to why, for the sake of diversity, they would want to show these slovenly, overpaid, underworked athletes not respecting our flag. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. It's just incredible. You and I are kind of the same vintage, and I don't know about you, but all through my life, attended many sporting events and participated in basketball in a small school like Murtaugh over in Wyoming for 6 years, and attended football games in college and so forth. But, you know, when that flag comes out, I've had relatives that served in the World War II and ancestors that fought in the War for Independence and so forth. I mean, this is pretty incredible stuff.
Well, now, wait a minute. Adrian, let me...
Now can allow, and I guess it's, you know, freedom of speech and so forth.
Yeah.
But believe me, we need to take a stand for this country, for the flag, for the national anthem.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but it when I see that flag come out, I just feel different when they play the national anthem.
Well, wait a minute. Let me jump in here. Adrian, let me jump in here a minute. You said you don't know about me. Well, yes, you do know about me. I mean, I have stood for the national anthem probably more than most Americans. And the reason that is, in my career as a rodeo announcer of well over 9,000 to 10,000 performances and all the other events, yes, I stand proudly for the flag. And I have told this story 1,000 times on my program probably. When I announced at the 1996 Olympics and I had a day off from my venues that I was announcing. I went to the gymnastics one evening at the Georgia Dome, and I witnessed an American girl win the gold medal. And when that flag was hoisted up behind her on that podium, I cried with pride. That's how much I stand for the national anthem and always will.
Well, and look, the American people are taking a stand, because I noticed one of the playoff games last weekend, and this was a highlights because I didn't watch the game. I just watched the sports summary type thing, and there were a lot of empty seats. I'd say on that one side,
yes,
like a third of the seats were empty.
Yep.
And so, I guess the American people are voting with their tickets, if you want to, and the playoff ratings were way, way down.
Yeah.
And the football game the other night was just pretty incredible. I guess being a left-hander myself, seeing I was probably favoring Georgia, but to see this left-hander throw that 40-yard pass with this guy streaking into the end zone, I guess it was kind of incredible. And he was kind of the backup quarterback, too. So, he was given an opportunity, and he took advantage of it. But it was definitely, Zeb, this country is unique. There's never been a country, as you've stated over and over, like this one. And I want to, along those lines, I strongly feel that our U.S. Constitution was divinely inspired.
Yep.
God raised up wise men to bring about our Constitution, and yet our legislature, led by Speaker Bedke, when they went down onto this mock convention to have a constitutional convention, they call it a convention of states. It's still the same thing. We will basically, they would go to propose amendments, and there's been amendments already proposed to modify the Second Amendment. Well, why don't we just take away all of the Bill of Rights and everything else that's in the Constitution, because that's what's going to be the end result. So, folks, get hold of Speaker Bedke and get hold of your elected senators and state representatives and tell them we want none to do with it. And the vote last year in session, this is like beating a dead horse to death,
yeah,
Zeb, because this has already been discussed so many times, been voted on. The Senate voted 24-11 not to have an Idaho call for a constitutional convention or convention of states. And we need to stop it.
All right, Adrian, I appreciate your calling in, and I agree with you that we have the greatest article ever written, if you will, call it article or constitution for any country. And as far as chipping away at it or revising it and saying the old boys didn't know what they were doing, that's completely erroneous. Got to run and do a commercial, my friend. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Good day.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Zeb. Keep up the fight.
Yeah, I really kind of sit back and I go when they say Constitution conventions. Oh, well, you don't have to worry. We're not going to touch this. We're not going to touch that. But when you open the door that has been, let's say, locked securely for over 200 years on a document that has been written by some very, very astute people, our forefathers, and you start going, well, maybe we can just change this a little bit. Or maybe we could reword that a little bit. Then you're opening up a Pandora's box of maybe an ice sculpture that is starting to melt. That scares me. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. It's almost comparable in a way to the people that have come forward and said they want to change or alter or get rid of our national anthem. And boy, I'll tell you what, those are subjects right there that put this old fat boy right on the front lines. Leave it alone. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Where have you been?
I had a customer all morning.
Well, that takes. At least you are honest like I am. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, that convention. If these politicians, if they'd been straightforward, and honest with us, over the years and not lied to us and not run stuff through behind closed doors and at the dark of night, people would be a little more open to it.
Yeah.
But it's like getting the foxes to watch the hen house when you're going to do this. It does not need to be done. What needs to happen is in the Senate and in the Congress, they need to pass an amendment to put term limits in, get it passed through, and it's done.
Yeah. How many?
You need a constitutional convention to open the Pandora's box to eliminate everything that's good in the Constitution.
Yeah, one time here about, it's been at least 9-10 years ago, I wrote a little article on a certain subject. I'm not going to go into all the boring details. And one thing that I've been blessed with, and I thank the good Lord above, is that when I want to write something, I've been gifted to write it in a very kind of a countryish attitude, and it's been accepted everywhere I've gone. People have really asked me to do this, that, and the other as far as writing for various subjects. Well, this city guy decided that he was going to go in and erase and change all my countryish, if you will, remarks and the way that I explain things in the article. And I told him to take his little pen and his little eraser and don't let the doorknob hit him in the butt on the way out. I do not like tinkering with the original documents. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yes, that's very true. So, I got one coming in. I better grin.
Boy, that's like a lure in the water. You better hook the fish while you can. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. All right, he's gone. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Got a lot of mixed feelings about changing, tinkering, deleting, adding to, enhancing, whatever you want to say, our Constitution of the United States of America. I've got a lot of second thoughts on that. All right, give me a call, 436-2244. And while I have just a moment before your call is coming in, I know you're dialing right now, I want to remind you about wintertime driving, and we all take it for granted. Well, it's a little bit of snow on the road, or maybe a little ice and yuck and muck, and you get out on the highway and you go, whoa, wait a minute, we're going in circles here. Well, make sure that you've got traction tires. Make sure you've got good traction tires from your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. For your car, your pickup, your SUV, they've got them all. They've got them all. And along with the tire chains, and of course with the best in brake service. I don't want to skip over this too fast because they've got highly trained technicians that can really help you and make sure that when you say whoa, you're going to whoa. They've got the best front end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. Absolutely. All you need to do is stop in, tell them what you need, and they can and will help you. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, along with Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, and the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pauline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. You know, they've got a tagline that is really, really true. Doing the right thing matters. And they do. At your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I am blessed to have them on my program. I can't even... Dan, how many years has it been they've been with us? 10? 11? Is that Les Schwab? How many years? I can't remember. And they are such super nice people. This is unbelievable, but a very liberal news bureau chief compiled a list of the most oppressive and feared leaders in the world. A liberal news bureau chief named Donald Trump as the most oppressive and feared leader by the media in the world today. And I heard a couple of commentators talking about this earlier this morning, and they too were shaking their head wondering what side of the banana tree did this guy fall out of? Because here we have in countries like Iran and countries like Turkey, they kill. They line up and shoot or behead journalists that say anything negative about the government. And those countries, weren't even in the top 5. But this idiot from this news bureau ranked Donald Trump as the number 1 to be feared and most oppressive leader in the world today. I could not believe this. That just shows and proves how biased the liberal media is as far as hatred, total hatred and contempt for President Donald Trump. It's absolutely insane. Coming up next hour, we have, of course, my dear friend Dave Bigo from Indianapolis, Indiana, and we're going to kind of have a quick review of the news in the last couple of days. Then at 9:30, we've got Steve Sherman coming on to talk about his new book called Lone Wolf Canyon that was written about and featured in his novel Idaho's the number 1 location. So we're going to have that on here, so don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch, we're going to turn it back over to Wheels. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Oh my, and the wind is picking up. As Gina had reported earlier this morning, they're calling for wind gusts and winds to 40 miles an hour today. Whoa, look out. Is the Wicked Witch of the West ever going to have a wild ride on her broom today? Anyway, Zeb at the Ranch brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you for the best and safest of wintertime driving tires, along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Absolutely. We're going to have our guest on the phone in just a moment, but Wheels, would you be so kind as to play the jingle for our friends at Western Waste?
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. And, you know, they got the Go Mini portable storage units, you know, and this is really a neat deal. You can call them at Western Waste at 734-6969. Tell them you want one of those Go Minis, and they'll bring it over. You can fill it up. You can either store it right there on your property, or they can take it back to their property and lock it up. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them today at 734-6969. Western Waste Services. And by the way, too, let's not forget our friends with Ark Animal Hospital. If you've got dogs, kitty cats, horses, steers, cows, whatever, they can help and they will help take care of your animals so they get the best veterinary care and stay healthy. Ark Animal Hospital is a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small, they love them and take care of them all. Absolutely. Dr. Bill and the whole crew are the best, and they really want to work with you at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. The number to call, 678-1177. I'll say it again, 678-1177. They have the warm hearts for the cold noses. I don't know if his nose is cold, but I'll guarantee you he's got a big heart and very generous. My dear friend Dave Bigo back in Indianapolis, Indiana. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. How you doing?
Well, I am good. We've got a lot of things to talk about this morning that I want your opinion on. And one of them was something that I witnessed yesterday. I don't know if you had a chance to turn your TV on in your office and watch this. But Donald Trump, I think, hit a grand slam home run yesterday when he allowed the news media, their cameras, their reporters, everything to stay in a room where they were having a meeting between the Republicans and the Democrats over DACA and the wall, the border fence wall. I thought President Trump handled this as perfectly as any president could. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it was a good job. I didn't get to see it live. I saw some of it afterwards and watched it for a while, and you know, the fact that he's open and, isn't behind closed doors and allows people to see what's going on, and had people from both sides of the aisle making their comments and positions known and everything. And but he did it professionally the whole time. There wasn't any screaming matches or anything. It was, and that tells you that he understands the art of the deal very well.
Dave, what I saw, and I watched the whole thing in its entirety. I canceled being to a meeting just to stay here and watch that. I saw Donald Trump literally and without any malice throw egg on the faces of the liberal Democrats and those that don't like him, saying, oh, he's mentally deranged. He doesn't have the mental capacities to be the president. Why, he can't think past 2 and 2 and make it 4. He led that meeting, and he led both the Republicans and the Democrats into a discussion that they can't back out of because it was recorded by the national media. I think he dispelled a lot of rumors and theories yesterday.
Well, I think he did too, and the American people saw it. But Zeb, the thing is, they're still going to attack him and do this stuff. This is what they do. Like I said, I've been through all this stuff, and I understand who they are. And you got to keep doing it and keep throwing, some egg on their face and exposing that what they're saying is not true and lies and misinformation. And eventually, they'll crawl back under their rocks. But he's got to keep it up, and he's got to stay professional like I think he was yesterday.
I agree with you totally. Let me ask you this. Dave, you as a business owner and the head of a great big company with a lot of employees, I don't know if you're involved, and Wheels, we got a little bit of feedback on my voice coming down the headset, if you would, please. I don't know if you're involved in the stock market. I am to a very limited, small degree, but my concern is, here we are, over 25,000 in the stock market. How high is up before all of a sudden what goes up must come back down?
Well, I'm not a big stock market person, never have been. I mean, we've got some investments in it through a bank that we use for some investment things, but I look at investments in the stock market to be a very small percentage of it, and where it's at now. I mean, obviously it's good, but at some point it's going to turn around and go back the other way, and I think people need to realize that and be prepared for it.
What do you think as a businessman, though, and I'd like to know this because you're highly successful and you've been around the horn once or twice, what about the involvement in the stock market? Is it overrated? Is it overpushed? Or what are your thoughts?
Well, like I say, I'm not real big on it. I think, I know some people that they spend a lot of time, doing it, and they've done pretty well at it. And but I think if you're going to be involved in the stock market, I mean, it's one of those things that you have to be on top of daily, and you got to be watching, and you got to make good decisions when you think it's topping out, and get your stuff out of there, and wait for it to drop, and then when it drops, you get back in again, and that. And to do that, you got to be on top of it every day. And as a businessman, I don't have time for that. I've got too many other things to take care of, employees and customers and everything else, and the businesses themselves.
Absolutely. Okay, now we're going to kind of pretend here a little bit. We're going to pretend that this is 2020, and you and I are still doing this on the radio, and I say to you, good morning, Dave Beagle. What are your thoughts about President Oprah?
Well, there's the polls came out, the Rasmussen polls today said that she was leading Trump 48 to 37%, but there's about, 14 or 15% that were undecided. So it could be a close race. But I think when it comes down to it, I think that, when she has to face off with him one-on-one, I think she's going to have a tough time, even though, obviously she's been on TV and that for a long time. She's still going to have a tough time because she hasn't been really a true business person, and this is her first time in politics too. Now, the other side of it though is she is a woman, and and she is a black lady, and so she's going to get a lot of support from that area.
in the climate of what's going on in America today with the absolute chaos the left is trying to prevail upon this country, honestly, I'm a little worried about her being pushed to the forefront because of the climate of the liberal left. She may have an advantage, which I think in the long run, with her stances on gun control and her stances with illegal aliens and immigration, I'm a little bit more than worried.
Yeah, well, we'll just have to see. I mean, we've got plenty of time between now and then, and I'll be honest with you, I even got a feeling that as this goes along, she may not even run. She may back away from it.
Yeah, could be.
I just don't think that's who she is, to be honest with you.
When you look at the rest,
I don't know if you saw there was an attack ad on her yesterday. I forget where I saw it, but that she was kind of in love with Weinstein.
Yeah.
And they showed pictures of her hugging him and kissing him and stuff like that. And I thought, oh boy, why start all this kind of stuff? We don't need this kind of thing.
Amen. And, you know, when you think about the Democratic Party in general, and I'm going to be very nitpicky, but it is the truth, right now, the number 2 man with the DNC, Muslim Minnesota Representative Keith Ellison, holding up that book by Antifa about violence in America to get their way, and he seemed to be advocating it. What are your thoughts about people like this in the Democratic Party? It's kind of spooky.
Well, the far left, and I don't know if you've watched the other night. I saw it for the first time. Oliver North was on it and kind of directing it, but Wise Guys.
Yeah.
And these were some older guys talking about what's going on in America, and they talked about not the Democratic Party as much, because they actually had a Democratic retired professor on there. And he even agreed with everybody that it's the extreme radical left that is doing these things, and they're trying to bring down America, and America needs to wake up. And I was very, very interested sitting there watching it, and it was good to see some of these older guys, and one of them was the owner of a big resort chain on the East Coast and that. And but they said, you know, it's not just, you know, it's not the Democratic Party, so to say. It's the it's this far radical left of people, you know, that are supporting Antifa and all that other stuff, and Black Lives Matters, and trying to separate this country and bring it down.
Absolutely.
And so I think, Zeb, we're seeing more and more people waking up and starting to expose this stuff.
I think you're right. I want to change subjects a little bit. I want to talk a little sports story with you this morning. I said on my program, and I don't know if you're going to agree with me or not, but the real national championship for the NCAA football was not held this week. Alabama and Georgia. It was not held between those two. It should have been the number 1 team going in, the University of Central Florida, and they went a perfect 13-0 and had defeated Auburn, had defeated Alabama, had defeated Georgia, and they were relegated to 6th place in the standings with a perfect record. This is a sham.
Yeah, it sounds kind of funny. You know, a lot of people saying they were lucky that they had some of those one-time wins and that against people like Alabama and that. It's you never know what goes on behind the scenes.
Well, no, that's true, but I think that in fairness and equity to a situation of major college football, to term a team as only 6th in the rankings that's undefeated and they've already beat the other ones, that to me is absolutely fraudulent.
Yeah, it was. I couldn't believe it when I saw all that, and of course Alabama comes back and wins it and that, and of course people down in Alabama are extremely happy. You know, my sister who works for us, she was down there yesterday. We're picking up some more business down there, and she was meeting with the people, and I talked to her on the phone afterwards, and she says these people down here, Dave, are hysterically happy.
Yeah.
Going crazy down here.
I wanted to ask.
I'm sure they are.
I wanted to ask you about something else, Dave, and maybe you're a good friend, and you can tell me if I'm all wrong, but I think our systems in this country have been broken, i.e. Medicaid and other systems of providing things for people. And I was really irritated last night. I had a really good friend call me from down in Nevada, and he was telling me about he was really miffed because if you're on Medicaid or a supplemental nutrition assistance program, which is SNAP, or supplemental security income, or a lot of different programs, you can go in and get a free cell phone with up to 500 minutes. And I'm not talking cheap cell phones, I'm talking smartphones at no cost. And me as a taxpayer, you as a taxpayer, we're paying the bill, footing the bill for these people to have the gratuities in life that everybody else pays for. I'm getting a little bit upset about this.
Well, yeah, it's our whole welfare entitlement program across the board. We need to scale that thing back and get people out and to get jobs and do things they need, and as they get older, make sure that they prepare themselves for retirement or are willing to go out and work. And I'll be honest with you, Zeb, it's kind of interesting. I've been out and about quite a bit here the past week, and been in places where there's a lot of older people working, behind the cash registers and other areas. Yeah. And I've been impressed by these people, and I've asked them. I said, "Why are you doing this?" They said, "Well, I've worked all my life, and there's some other things I'd like to have, and that I'm willing to go back out and work some more." And that's the type of mindset we need in America.
But how do you reinvent the wheel with the current generation that thinks everything is a handout, whether it's food stamps, whether it's free cell phones, or whether it's just laying back in the basement of mom and dad's house and not doing anything? How do we reinvent the wheel of getting aggressive and taking what God gave you as talents and developing a career of success?
Well, I think it comes back to our federal government. They've got to pull back on all this stuff, and they also got to make sure that when people apply for this stuff, that there's a very, very deep background check done on who these people are, and that they're legal and everything, and that they really deserve to be put on this, and have they been out looking for jobs and doing what they should and all that kind of stuff, and then again, scale back these entitlements.
Yeah.
And when you do that kind of stuff, that incentivizes people to go out and look for jobs and then get out and use their God-given talents to be successful.
Well, whether it's drug testing to see if they can qualify for the federal monies, or whether it is finding out whether they're physically able to get up off their big fat butt and don't let the doorknob hit them in the rear end when they go out looking for a job. I mean, I still maintain, and I've said this on my program for years, that there needs to be a case-by-case study in cities, counties, and states to make sure that the dead wood is taken off the welfare rolls. And I would make the prediction that they could curb as much as 30 to maybe even 40% money saving if they started investigating these people.
Oh, there's no doubt about that, and that's why I said all that needs to be done. And on top of that, you need to scale back the programs too, because, and I think I've said this, told this story on your show one other time, but I've got a good friend. He's a black gentleman. He started his own electrical company about 12 years ago or so. And, he's been trying to build it. And back when President Obama he hadn't left office yet, but I had to have him do some work at my house, and he couldn't come out till Saturday morning at 11 o'clock. And he was doing the work, and I was standing there talking to him. And you could just tell he was really upset and perturbed. And I asked him, I said, Jason, what's wrong? And he says, Dave, I can't find people that want to work, want to be electricians and make a decent wage. And he says, it is driving me crazy, and it's all because of the welfare and entitlement programs in this country. He says, I have a good friend who's a black gentleman. He's married with 5 kids, and he and his wife live apart because that way she gets food stamps, aid for dependent children, and on and on and on. And this guy, he goes around and applies for jobs all the time, never takes him, and he gets unemployment pay, and they live off all that. And he just laughs. He says, I don't have to work. I get all this coming in.
So what's the answer, though, Dave? How do we get the politicians to really turn around and do the job of representing their constituency, you and me, honest taxpayers? How do we get them to say enough is enough, we're going to correct this?
Well, we got to keep hammering at them, and I was talking to a gentleman, I believe it was yesterday, about this, is that, we need term limits all across the country, in the states and that, but we need them in the House of Representatives and the Senate, so that, people only serve 2 terms and they go back to the private workforce. And that way they won't be out there doing all these handout programs to get votes to get reelected.
Yeah, I agree with you. One final thought this morning, professional athletes. And I know that you have professional basketball and professional football in the city of Indianapolis. But I am really starting to turn into a anti-professional athlete attitude because of their attitude. These, in my opinion, many are way overpaid, underworked athletes. And when the President of the United States makes an invitation to a championship team to show up, and then some of these so-called professional ball players, I don't want anything to do with Donald Trump, and they denigrate him and they denigrate the office, all they're doing, in my opinion, is absolutely hurting future generations and the attitude. Talk to me about what your thoughts are.
Oh, I agree with you. They're spoiled brats, and, it's time that the NFL wakes up and handles these people and gets them back in line, because the NFL and the NBA too in a lot of places, they're losing attendance, and people aren't watching them on TV much anymore, and they're going to start losing revenues in that, and it's time for them to wake up and sit these people down. And it's kind of like here in Indianapolis, they fired the coach we had here, and I've met him. He's a nice guy. You'd like him if you met him. A good guy. But he never had the mental toughness to stand up and look at these players in the eyes and say, I'm not going to put up with that. You're not going to do that, or you're going to be sitting on the bench, because that's not how we operate.
Yeah.
And, that's how you have to handle them. And, I played college and basketball and baseball and that. And after I got out of college, I coached a lot. And, I had some kids that I coached, that were kind of had those type of attitudes. And there's times I just had to take them off to the side and look them in the face and talk to them, say, I'm not going to put up with that. And if you want to play on this team and have a chance to be a starter and all that, then you're going to have to change your attitude in that. And I did it in a nice way. But you have to address these things. And it's like employees that work for you and everything else. And it's time the NFL woke up.
I'm going to say this, and you might disagree, but I grew up, of course, in the era of coaches that were real leaders, like Vince Lombardi, George Halas, and many others.
Yep. And
quite frankly, it was a tough love, tough learning situation. But that being said, almost 99% of the players that played for Vince Lombardi with the tough love, and I don't care if you broke your arm, get out there and play anyway attitude, they all loved the man, and they all, after football, were excellent business successes.
Right. That's because he inspired them, and they didn't take what he was doing. We have too much of this political correctness today, and too much of that's thrown out there. And you just have to look at them and say, look, we're not talking about political correctness here. We're talking about doing the right things and, developing yourself so that you can succeed and move on, and this team can move on in that. And we just need coaches that do that. It's like the Indiana Pacers. Their coach, I like him. He's a good guy in that. But, we have a team that's doing okay, but they could be doing much better if they play defense.
Absolutely.
They want to play offense all the time, and he doesn't have the, backbone to really get in their face and say, you're going to play defense too.
Let me ask you a short answer on this. Can we as a society turn it around so that people learn that word again, respect and try?
I think we can. It's just we're going to have to keep hammering away at it, and we got to keep converting more and more people and waking more people up. And like I said, I think we are. I was telling you about this segment on Fox with Oliver North, Wise Guys, and I found it very, very interesting. And I even sent Oliver North an email saying, I really enjoyed your show. Please keep it up. And And I told him about my background and everything.
Amen.
So,
Amen.
You know, Oliver came from that age where he understands what it takes to be a winner and to make things work.
Absolutely. I am so far out of time, I can't see the clock. Dave Beagle back in Indianapolis, Indiana. Dear friend, God bless you. Great author, and thanks for taking the time to be on our program. You're always welcome.
Well, thanks for having me on, and by the way, you wrote a great blog this past week. Keep it up.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Dave. Thank you so much. My dear friend, Dave Beagle in Indiana, and I look forward to Wednesdays every week right here on Zeb at the Ranch. Got to pay some bills. I'm running really late. Excuse me. I want to remind you about Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, with Joel Heward, his family, and his staff serving you. Serving is the key word. And, of course, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. They're there. They're there to help you when there's the passing of a loved one. So please, all you need to do is just call the number 436-5636. I'll repeat that, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, with Joel Heward, and also serving you at Morrison Payne Mortuary on East Main in Burley. Thank you. Oh, my goodness. Let's see what else have I got to get in here real quick. I need to remind everybody about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Holy cow, Jeff Bronson and the whole crew. I'm telling you, if you're looking for sofas and love seats, they have got over 60 different styles and colors of sofas and love seats, and you can really get into these interest-free for 2 years. Wow! Where are they located? Run in or drive in, whichever's easiest for you. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Like I said, they are serving you with the best in furniture, the best in carpet, the best in mattresses and bedroom sets, all your furniture, your recliners. You better get in there today. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, 459 Overland in Burley, and tell them old Zeb sent you. Right now, we're just about ready to go to the phone line, and I know we've got this gentleman waiting, but I got to get this in here real quick. If I didn't talk so doggone much, we'd be on time. Let's not forget our friends at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. Now, what do you expect when you open the door? Holy cow, they've got a showroom full of snowmobiles. They've got a showroom full of four-wheelers and side-by-sides. They've got a showroom full of all the accessories. Man, it's all there for you, because this is where the fun is sold. You stop over and see them today. And don't forget, they've got a great service department to keep you running. Where? Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. It is where the fun is sold. Let's go to the phone line right now, and I'm really looking forward to having this gentleman on our program this morning. He has written a brand new book called Lone Wolf Canyon. Good morning, Steve Sherman. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
It is my pleasure, sir. Let's kind of start with the basics first and foremost. Who is Steve Sherman? What do you do? And tell us how you got to writing this book.
Well, it's the fifth book that I've got out, and I just got into writing a little bit later in life, and I fell in love with it, and I just can't seem to stop. This particular book is fun for you guys because it's set right in Idaho.
Well, now let's, without giving.
Louis L'Amour.
All right. Now, you said that you're a big fan of Louis L'Amour, and so am I. I've got his entire collection right here on one of my bookshelves. But tell us a little bit as to why all of a sudden the gist and the twist of this story came into your mind. Give us a little background on this book.
Well, I grew up reading Louis' books as a teen, and just I can't claim that I've read all of them, but I sure read a bunch of them. And loved them. And since I became an author, I've always kind of wanted to write a Western, and just never really had the story. And I wouldn't say this is a book that Louis would write. It's just inspired by his themes. A lot of his books are very similar, as you know. There's usually a lone stranger comes to town for one reason or another. befriends an older gentleman that's usually being persecuted by the cattle baron or the mining baron or whatever, and they usually join forces. The younger guy is generally a gunslinger type, and there may be a daughter on the edges, and it's just kind of that same format, but it's modern day. And I've got a gentleman that's getting out of the Army Rangers, and him and his friend had decided they were going to head out west and sign on at a ranch and play cowboy just to cool off after getting out of the Middle East. Well, his friend gets killed right before he gets out, but he promises he'll go out west and find this ranch that they had found in the middle of Idaho. And he does it, and it's all going good, and there's some very interesting characters. I don't ruin the story, but the in the middle of the River No Returns, there's a fictitious ranch along the river that's grandfathered in. Well, it turns out the neighboring ranch is a terrorist training camp. And as they would have it, things go bad out in the wilds, and it's a pretty entertaining read.
Steve, let me ask you this, and I need to make kind of a caveat here, and we'll stop. When you were doing the research for this particular story, what did you use as a basis of information? Because what you're talking about in this book, actually, fiction is related to truth, because this has happened around the country to where people have had their property, the adjacent property, turn into a terrorist training camp. It's happened in New York, it's happened in Texas, it's happened in Oregon, it can happen anywhere. Tell us about how you came up with that kind of a plot.
Well, it happened almost, I'm in Iowa, I'm a Midwesterner, and we had a camp that was formerly it was a Christian camp, and they ended up selling it, and it was getting purchased by an Islamic group. And it eventually didn't go through, but boy, the area really lit up on it, and there was never good answers on what they were doing out there. It was kind of just fishy. I mean, nothing ever happened in our area, but it got me doing some research. And like you said, there are camps all around the country, and they're kind of run like compounds. You don't go in or out, and who knows what they're doing in there. So that left plenty of room for fiction. And with the fact that we do have an Islamic terrorist problem, that's not 100% of our shooters are terrorists, but it sure is a lot of them.
Steve, let me ask you this.
That's kind of the theme behind this good and evil story that I did.
All right, now let me ask you this question. When you were doing some research so that you could portray a fictional novel as almost a real situation, did it open the eyes of you and your family as to really how dangerous this situation is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is actually kind of terrifying. The more you even talking like this in public, my book is not probably going to win me a lot of Islamic friends. And they don't, the real zealots don't take it kindly. And there really is a risk to your own life and family. Some of my family wasn't really excited about the storyline when I told them who the bad guys were. Because there is a risk of kind of that crazy wingnut guy saying, you know what, I'm just going to go make it right for Allah and get rid of that dumb author. But you just kind of, you got to write your stories and trust God.
That is very true. Write your stories and trust God. But I don't want to jump ahead here, and I certainly don't want you to give away any information on the ending of the book, but the termination of the book and the characters and the finalization as to when they finish the book, did it leave the door open for future books and or circumstances to write about again?
Yes, it does. Without ruining the story at all, there's always an opportunity for sequels. I think if you're a fairly creative author.
What about?
You get attached to the characters sometimes, where you want to just kind of continue the story, like what happened next.
Right.
Create another adventure.
When you did the research for it, and you mentioned that you had some kind of cold chills at time because whether it was fiction, it was relating to truth. What does it tell you about how lax the United States has become in protecting our citizens? I'd like to hear your viewpoint on that.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it's part of the reason that the carry permit argument has just raged all across the country. The more these attacks happen, whether they're Islamic or not, people are realizing that self-defense is a big deal in America, way more than it used to be. When I was a kid, we all had shotguns in our trucks for pheasant hunting. I knew no one that carried a weapon for self-protection. Well, now it's, I know lots of people. I'm a realtor as a day job. I carry 99% of the time. It's just, the world has changed, and we have fast response times. Our police are great. 7 or 8 minutes, though, is too long for me to be waiting on that.
Now, let me ask you, Steve, is there a chance, and I was reading this one comment, and you quoted Kevin Sorbo, an actor and producer and director, and by the way, I think Kevin Sorbo is one of the very, very few in Hollywood that has a Christian background with his wife and his family. What are your thoughts about this becoming a movie? I mean, was there an inference that maybe the book's going to become a movie?
We haven't got that far with it. He read the book and did a promotional blurb for me, which I was really honored that he did. And we'll take it a little step at a time on the movie side of it. It's, I think there's opportunities for it. We'll just see where it leads.
All right, now, what about the future? What are more books? And I'm going to ask you, you're on a cell phone, and I need you to really speak directly into the mouthpiece because we're getting a lot of background noise. What about future books and topics? Tell us about your writing experience in the future.
I have a couple projects coming up. I have actually a nonfiction, a political story that some people are having me do research on and write on, which would be a total different foray for me out of fiction. I do political writing for the Daily Church website, but never in a book form, and we'll be kind of heading that direction next, I think.
Okay, now I got to ask you this, because I am in the process of finalizing my own book, and so you're ahead of me on this. Did you have days when all of a sudden you just wanted to take those legal pads and those pencils and throw them in the river, or did everything go rosy for you?
Yeah, it can be pretty challenging writing. It gets pretty frustrating. I love the writing process, and I tend to hate the editing process. That's really challenging, going back through and making it as best that it can be, but it's very, very necessary. And, you get pretty frustrated on that. I'm found that I can only reread it or re-edit my own stuff 2 or 3 times, and I get kind of numb to any mistakes in it or anything that are difficult, so I have to reach out to kind of my team of readers.
Absolutely. Now, what about the book itself, Lone Wolf Canyon? Is it out? Where can people get it? Tell us all that.
It is. It's available pretty much everywhere online. Amazon under S.C. Sherman is my writing name. Just look up Lone Wolf Canyon, it'll pop up. Or Barnes & Noble, any of the online sites have it, both the electronic version and the paperback.
Well, I've got to get the book or whatever as soon as I can, and when I read the book, I'll have you back on this program, but I want to wish you a lot of luck with the book called Lone Wolf Canyon by S.C. Sherman, Steve Sherman, and I thank you for coming on the program, and I hope the book's a huge success.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome, sir. Thank you. Steve Sherman with his book called Lone Wolf Canyon, and the book about terrorism and terrorist camps right here in the state of Idaho. Kind of spooky, huh? But true at many parts of the United States. Calls are welcome. Come on, I'm going to turn this next 20 minutes into yours. Give me a call. We'll talk about any subject you want to talk about for the remainder of this half hour. So please give me a jingle at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And while I am waiting for your calls, which I know are coming in, we're going to do a quick weather forecast. And the weather is brought to you by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. These are the professionals in the accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area, as they have been for over 50 years. Oh my goodness, they are the best. Very well respected with tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, helping you maybe if you're expanding your business and want to hire more employees. All of this and more. In Burley and Rupert, Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Right now, let's start her up. Here comes Gina with the weather.
We are in a wind advisory, so if you drive a high-profile vehicle, please be careful. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. We're looking at cloudy skies for today, and we are in a wind advisory. Gusts possible as high as 40 miles an hour, steady winds out of the west, 20 to 25 miles an hour. Mostly sunny skies for today, high of 42 tonight. Partly cloudy skies, winds dying down just a little bit, low of 30. Tomorrow we do have a 20% chance of rain showers in the afternoon. Mostly cloudy skies, high near 48. Still going to be windy and could see gusts as high as 30 miles an hour for Thursday night. 40% chance of rain and or snow showers in the forecast with a low of 36. And for Friday, partly sunny skies and 44. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you so much, Gina. Appreciate it. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. With my good old buddy Lyden Crane over there and the rest of the crew, I'm telling you, 2 locations serving you in Burley and Rupert, and the best of professional accounting services. Please get a hold of them today. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. All right, your turn. Come on, give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I wanted to mention again, I've said this for the last couple of days, that if you have a various fundraising event or whatever's going on, public service event, be sure and get those to me, because on Thursdays, starting tomorrow, we're going to try to highlight many of the different events and maybe even have some of the people on the air that are the head of those events. So give me the emails at zebattheranch@hotmail.com. zebattheranch@hotmail.com. Send those over to me. I'd love to hear about it, okay? All right, calls. Give me a jingle. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I saw this article in the paper the other day, and it saddens me that this person is so hard-hearted against our education system in the state of Idaho. I'm not saying it's perfect, but over the course of the last many years, we have had a segment on our program that has, I think, really showed to the public the greatness, if you will, of our teachers and a lot of the people that are, along with staff members, of various parts of education. We have done school days in Cassia County for quite some time, thanks to Debbie Critchfield, that has helped put together all the many guests that have come on the air. And I have found some outstanding people, not only in Cassia County, but in other places in the state of Idaho that are really dedicated to the bettering, if you will, of our state education here in the state of Idaho. And I want to talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. But right now, let's take this phone call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. Beautiful sunshiny day this morning.
But hold on to your topper, buddy, because it's going to blow into the next county.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
It's called a trash can warning.
You know, a guy on crutches like me, you put the stampede strings down and you tighten them up, because I don't chase well.
You've lost many a hat, I'll bet.
I'll tell you, I've seen them go across the parking lots, under the cars, and sometimes run over.
Yep.
I got to tell you this real quick. I remember vividly about 8-9 years ago, I had a brand spanking, really expensive hat. I'm talking about lots of money. And I only wore it for special occasions, like if I was announcing the national finals or the World Championship Quarter Horse Show or whatever. And I never will forget, I was back in Oklahoma City, and I got out of my car, and you know the wind never blows in Oklahoma City unless it's under 50 miles an hour. And I got out of the car in the parking lot, and there went my brand new hat, rolling. You know how hats roll, and it went underneath a vehicle that was just going down the same street and over on the other side of the street, never to get touched. It got dirty, but you saw a whole bunch of money possibly laying flattened in the middle of the street.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I remember one time I worked in Wyoming, and the wind didn't blow out there, and everybody was walking out of their house, and they fell over.
Oh, my.
They were leaning for the wind, and they just flop.
I'm telling you, man, I hate wind. But anyway, go ahead. I digress. Go ahead.
Anyway, about the meeting with Trump yesterday and the Democrats and Republicans. My wife watched it, and she was very impressed, and what little bit I seen of it was very good. And I've heard a few people comment that President Trump was brilliant for getting all the Democrats on record on what was said in that meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What he did, and I don't know if this was a well-thought-out event or if it just happened off the cuff, but Trump made the media like him. And I'm serious when I say that. Wolf Blitzer and others on CNN actually paid him a compliment, and I thought I'd better go get another stent for my heart.
Well, that's a double-edged sword there, because when the Democrats are happy and mainstream media is happy, this can be scary.
Yeah, but there has to be a mellowing out. You know this, because politically speaking in this country, with the vile Antifa and the Black Lives Matter and the liberals siding on that side where violence is okay as long as you resist and get your way, Doug, it's got to stop.
It does. It does. And he was brilliant there, because the Democrats, and they wanted, let's do DACA first and then this other and that there. And he was brilliant in saying, we've got a bunch of smart people in this room. I know we can come up with a solution.
But, there's one thing I want to interject. I thought he was way too quick, whether he misheard or whether he was just playing the cards, when California, Dianne Feinstein, said something about, we're on the road to where we could solve DACA real easy, and then after we get that through, she said, then we'll concern our efforts for border security. And I yelled at the top of my voice in my living room, no! They will be together and joined at the hip, because if you don't, the Democrats will walk on you.
Exactly. And Trump kept insisting in that meeting, from what I've seen of it, was it's got to have the wall before anything else. I mean, the wall's got to be there. No wall, nothing else.
Yeah.
And you think about it, the Democrats, 10 years ago, was screaming and hollering for border security, and most all of them voted for a fence or a wall.
Well, yeah, but you can go back as far as to 1996 with Bill Clinton standing up and addressing the State of the Union message and absolutely emphasizing for over 5 minutes in his speech about border security, tighter border security, and honoring a legal immigration system.
Yes. It's amazing how, I don't know if they switch, because I'm not real sure whether it's just because the Republicans are for it now and they don't want to do what the Republicans want to do. I don't know.
It's called hypocrisy.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But you take, like President Trump said, we need to come together for the country, not for the party.
Amen. Amen.
And he stated that several times in that meeting that I seen.
What the American public saw yesterday was the real Lindsey Graham, the real Dick Durbin, the real personalities of these people, because they were addressing from their party stances what they wanted or what they expected, but they weren't creating sound bites for the camera where they're the only ones looking into the lens.
Exactly. And I think it was a brilliant move, and I think he's going to do it more often.
By the way,
when he comes up with some legislation or something that needs to be addressed, I think he needs to pull them in more often, get everybody on the camera.
Well, I think what he did yesterday was also have a jolt of electricity to his popularity numbers. I honestly say that at the end of this month of January, when they always do their polling about how did he do this month, what did he say wrong, what did he tweet wrong, how did he treat somebody badly or whatever, I think you're going to see, and I'm going to stick my neck out here, I think you're going to see at least a minimum of a 5% increase in popularity.
Yes, yeah. And I think if you go into the flyover states, the ones that are getting benefits from what he's done, the cutback of regulation, the main population of people that aren't biased, that are just for America, and do a popularity on President Trump, he would be through the roof.
Absolutely.
But when you take it in Washington, D.C., New York, California, Chicago, Detroit, you're going to get a negative.
Yep. Well, I'll tell you what, Dougie, don't take too much time. Be sure and try to get your new free phone, even though we can't qualify. It'd be nice to dream, wouldn't it?
A free phone?
Yeah, did you hear about that?
No,
I was talking about it earlier. Now
I had a long-winded customer.
If you're on different programs of government assistance, like the SNAP program and all these other programs, and on Medicaid, all you gotta do, Dougie, is just order your new smartphone and get 500 minutes a month. We, the taxpayers, are going to pay for it.
Yeah, they've been getting that for quite a while.
I know they have, but the story became really prominent to me yesterday because I had a good friend of mine call, and he was witnessing these people that were selling these or giving away these free smartphones and all the minutes, and it just made him livid to think that we, the taxpayers, are on the hook for all that money.
Yeah, and they also get free internet in their house.
Yep.
Yeah, because you got to use the internet to look for jobs. You can't physically leave the house and walk into an establishment and ask for work.
Yeah, we
do it on the internet, so they get free internet.
There you go. And while you and I are gullible enough and, quite frankly, dumb enough to keep working every day, the other ones sit back and have bonbons and watch TV and laugh at us. And I don't like being laughed at.
I don't either. And they're coming back with the work program on welfare.
There you go. I hope they do.
To either apply for jobs, or you got to be actively taking a class to learn a trade, or working.
Absolutely. I've got to run, Doug, but God bless you for your call. Thank you.
Okay, hey everybody. I know I'm a broken record, but let's take care of the people that have built this country, our seniors.
Amen to that. Thanks, Doug. Hey, don't forget our friends at Cameron Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more. Absolutely, they're accessible and devoted to serving you, your family, and your business. Please, I urge you to call for an appointment today. That's all you got to do is just make the appointment, and they will help you with the rest. 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. The professionals that do the best for you. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. What do we got next hour? We've got attorney Michelle Owens, and at 10:30, I can't wait to get this guy on the air, Bob Terry from Texas, talking about the Old West. Don't miss it. Zeb at the Ranch, I'll be back in 7 minutes. And a good morning, and the wind is really picking up out there. Hold on to your Stetsons, boys. It's going to get windy today. Morning, Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you for safe wintertime driving. Stop in and see them today. And also some of our great advertisers, including Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being and feeling like you. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line. I had this lady on the program, I think about 6-7 months ago, and she is very, very articulate about a subject that is becoming more prominent, unfortunately, every day. Michelle Owens, attorney and spokesperson for Stop Abusive and Violent Environments. Good morning, Michelle. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Well, I'm a little concerned in this country because right now I'm going to say this and I want you to pick up on it. If you're accused, you're guilty, go get the rope.
That's exactly right.
And explain why.
Right. That's the whole thing now is we don't even need to have any kind of investigation. We're just going to assume that anybody that somebody complains about, that they are automatically guilty. And my concern is I'm afraid that's going to translate into the criminal realm and every other realm. At some point in the future.
You know, let me ask you this. We're primarily talking about men, and you can be accused, and this is a subject where if somebody's got a little one in the front room or something listening to the radio, you might show them into their bedroom, play with toys or whatever. A person can be accused of sexual misconduct, just accused, and see their whole life completely come crashing down. Give us kind of a scenario, would you please?
Well, yeah, that's easy, unfortunately, because it's what I deal with every day in my practice. I have a lot of men on college students that are accused of sexual assault or rape, and bear in mind that the definition of those on college campuses is different than the legal definition. And I think that's one piece that a lot of people don't know. So I have people who are accused of this, and then it does not matter if they provide evidence that exonerates them, what we call exculpatory evidence in the legal world. It is not counted. It's ignored by the investigators, and they are deemed guilty from the beginning. And then the investigation, all it does is seek to strengthen that case against them. They don't seek evidence that is true evidence that either clears or finds them guilty. They seek evidence that supports their already biased view that this person is guilty. If you want a real-life example, I have too many to choose from, unfortunately. I had one student who was accused at a college in the South of rape. He did not even actually have sex with this woman. They again, take the small kids out of the room, but there was some heavy petting going on. That'll show my age, that word. But they did not end up having sexual intercourse, and she claimed rape. He kept saying there wasn't rape, I didn't do anything, and then lo and behold, there is a surveillance video, because a lot of colleges have these days, and there is video of the two walking out of the room where she says she was raped, and she's smiling, and they're holding hands, and she is walking really close to him and, looks obviously happy to any unbiased party who looks at the video. We found the video, presented it, and they still found him guilty. Because they just said the video doesn't mean anything. She could have been drunk or so traumatized that she, didn't know what she was doing. And then, luckily, on appeal, we reached an intelligent person who actually looked at the video and said, okay, there's no way this was a rape. And it was dismissed, and he was let back in school, thankfully. But that's the kind of thing that happens all of the time. And the fact that they could see that video and still say, well, that just exemplifies that she was so confused and traumatized she didn't know what she was doing. That's what you're dealing with at this point. Any evidence that is against the idea that someone was assaulted is chalked up to stress from the actual assault.
Yeah, but wait a minute, Michelle. You said, he was exonerated basically and let back into school. Wait a minute. His whole life has been turned upside down, and the acceptance of him, his personality, his character, that's been thrown in the garbage can. How do they remake that?
They don't, and that's the real problem with it. You can't remake it. You can't unring the bell. And once people hear about this, there's a preconceived idea that maybe this guy did rape her, and he just, got off on a technicality. And that's the idea, and they don't do anything. There's nothing that they do to fix the situation. And unfortunately, my advice to a lot of my clients is, look, our goal is to, first of all, keep you alive and well, because a lot of my clients become suicidal. Secondly, is to get you back in school. And we're not going to worry about the money and the attorney fees you're having to spend, which is completely unfair and not your fault, or on, your reputation or anything at this point. We want to get you back in school, because if we don't do that, it can affect the rest of your life, because you can't get into another school easily at all if you have been dismissed with a sexual assault allegation, and it can keep you from getting into some professions, graduate school, some jobs. So it's a very life-changing event.
Let me ask you this, and I'm probably a little naive in some of my questions because I'm an old man far removed from the college and or dating scene. But what about these poor guys? Why is it more predominant today to have these women come forward with an accusatory finger pointed at them than it was in my day in college back in the 60s.
Well, right now, today, the political climate is, this is an ideological movement. This believe the victim, trauma investigations, being sensitive to those. It's just a movement that is being perpetrated by a lot of women's groups that, they just believe women have been sexually assaulted and harassed for so long that, for some reason they think it's okay to deem all of the allegations made as completely true and, give all the guys the death sentence, basically. It's just a movement, and there's a lot of grants and federal funding that is going into some of these women's movements, and this is what they're using the money for, is to propagandize the college students and teach them that they may not realize they've been assaulted and harassed sexually, but they have been. And let us tell you why we know you have been and how it has happened.
Okay, so
that's what they do.
Are you telling me, and I want to make sure I'm clear on this because I've been against this particular program since its start. Are you telling me that some of the money that goes to various universities for Title IX is being used to go after and try to have a court case and win against a certain individual male?
Well, not a court case. But the money is being used. Any money that, and I'm just, I don't have statistics in front of me to back this up, but I know because money that goes to any schools to support any kind of Title IX program, that money is at least in part being used to what they would call educate women. And they're supposedly they're educating everybody on campus, but what it really comes down to is that they have meetings with primarily women who attend, and they teach them what sexual assault looks like. And what they teach them is that, if you're coerced, it's sexual assault. So in other words, if someone asks you to have sex and you say no and they ask you again, that's sexual assault because you're being coerced. And they teach them those things. And so that is how that money is being used, at least in part. And the idea women are getting is that, wow, I was a victim and I didn't know it. I do need to stand up for myself. And it's just a load of crap. If being asked more than once on one night to have sex is rape, then, most of my married friends have been raped regularly because a lot of us are asked more than once by our husbands. It's just the nature of the two sexes. The male is more of the aggressor, and that's the way we're created. And it's not wrong.
Well, no, wait a minute, though. I'm seeing a more distorted picture that's starting to happen frequently in America, unfortunately. And tell me again if I'm wrong. But this kind of an attitude of asking for or trying to be the leader, if you will, of a sexual escapade, and you could all of a sudden be convicted of being guilty of sexual assault, it's killing the dating scene in America. It's killing a man and woman relationship. Holy cow, what's the future bode?
Well, right. It's very, very dangerous. And, I agree with everything you said. It is killing the dating scene. So damaging to the women's movement, which no one seems to understand. But we are all of a sudden saying that the woman is the weaker sex. And they're trying to get, legislation now that even would say that you believe the victim, you presume the guilt of the person that's being accused, because women are weaker. That's what they're saying without using those words. That you need to be extra careful with them. They're afraid to come forward, so we've got to treat them with kid gloves. So it's not only damaging dating relationships and calling what is normal dating, they're now calling it harassment and rape. Like, for instance, unwanted flirting is sexual harassment.
Oh, my goodness.
That's ridiculous.
Explain that. Wait a minute.
Right.
Stop there.
Right.
Stop there for a minute and explain that to me. Unwanted flirting. I have read different cases over the last couple of days when I knew you were going to be on the program that some women say that the men should be arrested for eye contact to the women that they consider unnecessary or unwanted flirting. Holy cow, what do you want men to do? Get up in the morning and wear blinders? What's going on here?
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and that's what it is. It's just crazy. There's no way to define it except for it's a movement. Almost, one of the Harvard professors said it's almost a religious movement with these women's groups. It's believe the victim. It's it's ideologically driven, and it's true. That's exactly what they're doing, and there's just no rational way to think of it.
Okay, now, when you talk about Title IX, and I'm going to ask you to speak directly into your phone because we've got a little bit of a communication gap there. But, Michelle, when you talk about Title IX, why haven't judges or people with legal ability looked at what I would say is the misappropriation of funds or the mishandling of funds of Title IX to be used for this kind of thing? Title IX money was not meant to go and haul some kid into court from the Duke lacrosse team.
Well, I agree. I don't know that it has been looked at. I think the reason it hasn't been looked at is because it would be really hard to prove. Because that money there is a use for it in education and teaching people about what is sexual assault. It just needs to be gender neutral and it needs to be non-biased. And that's the problem. And that's what's coming out in court cases now is this inherent bias that is only getting worse because of the Believe the Victim campaign. That is what is costing colleges a lot of money right now because the courts are saying, yeah, from the very beginning, the onset, this was a biased investigation. You have investigators who are being taught that when you hear a different story or something that doesn't make sense in the victim, and they don't call him the alleged victim, they call him the victim, which is a bias right off the bat. When you hear that, it's not that they aren't telling the truth. They have been traumatized, and so it actually backs up their claim that they were raped or assaulted. So when you hear things that don't make sense or things that are not corroborated, that's good because it means that they were raped. And that's the type of thing that the judges are saying, okay, wait a minute. That does not make sense. That is circular reasoning. And apparently no one in the universities is smart enough to see it, but we are.
Yeah.
So that's not okay. But what really bothers me is that when that happens, what happens to that case is the judge doesn't make a decision about whether there was assault or not. He sends it back to the school for them to redo the investigation or redo the hearing. So it just prolongs it and starts over. Yeah. So the guys are really, calling this an unfair situation is about the biggest understatement I could make. It's a very horrendous situation.
I'm sitting here and I'm thinking back to my college days, and at the risk of saying something on the radio that my wife not know about before we were married and my dating, any male that is a male could have been, at that time, if the circumstances were prevailed at those times, could have been up for possibly the allegation of sexual assault.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, every single day, I can think of things that I know my friends have done or things that have happened that could have been considered sexual assault or rape. And it's ridiculous. There are not... I shouldn't encounter a rape every single day of my life. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah. Let me ask you this question, and I go back about maybe a year ago when this movement seemed to start of anti-men, hate men, we don't need men, in a feminist society that I think is being perpetrated by others in your industry in the law profession, like Gloria Allred and Lisa Bloom. To me, they are nothing more but ambulance chasers trying to make a buck and condemn men. Am I wrong?
Well, I mean, you may be right. I honestly can't quite figure out the rationale behind it and the the thought process, because I almost feel like it comes from a position of, maybe they have had something happen to them, and they're going to take it out on every man that they meet, for the rest of their lives. And then they want to teach this to women. It just comes from a very bitter and unhappy place, I think.
If you were the mother of a teenage son going off to college, and you and your husband were sitting on the couch talking to him about this, that, and the other, what in the world would you tell your son, soon to be a freshman in college, about what to do, what not to do, what to run away from, etc.?
Well, that's a very relevant question for me, because I do have a teenage son, and obviously I know the dangers. And we do talk to him. And, one thing, and I have a teenage daughter, too. I have twins. So, I'm looking at it from both perspectives, and I am much more concerned about my son going to college than I am my daughter. And what we tell him is, first of all, choose the people you date. If somebody, comes after you, you choose them. Don't let them choose you. So, for instance, if a girl just asks you out, don't go with her. You pick the person you want to go out with, because you have a better chance of picking somebody that's not crazy. and a lot of these things come from girls who like a guy and then he doesn't like them back. So that starts the problem. So that's one thing. The other thing is don't ever have any alcohol and do anything sexual with a girl. Don't even kiss her if you've had alcohol. That's a hard thing to do on college campuses. But it's very, very important, because if there's alcohol involved, the guy is automatically guilty, which is a whole other, rant I could go on. The other thing is to do things in groups. Don't do things alone, because if you're alone, you don't have any witnesses. When I win cases, it's because I have other witnesses around who saw them before or after what the girl is describing as an assault. And they can describe their, the way they acted, their tone of voice. If they looked happy, they might have pictures. So do things in groups. But there's no, I had 2 cases where there was no sexual intercourse at all. One case where the guy didn't do anything with the girl, and I think she has been confused with somebody else because she was so drunk. So there's almost no way to completely protect yourself, and that's the scary thought. You can do everything right and still be accused of this and lose everything.
Yeah, but wait a minute, Michelle. As a mother, and I, of course, have a son and a daughter that are married, and they have their own children now, but you're almost discussing a puritanical type society to where we shake hands after every date and go home, and there's no developing of any relationships because we're afraid of what might happen.
Well, that's kind of right. Unfortunately, that's where we are. And shaking hands, I'm even afraid to have them do that at this point.
Oh, my.
You just really have to be so careful, because anybody, the other thing this is a good thing, I'm glad you mentioned this, because one thing that I've noticed with a lot of my clients is that sometimes they act like a jerk. Guys are guys, and they don't call the girl back because they aren't interested, and they don't even tell her. They just blow her off. So one thing I've talked to boys about and to my son about is ending dates well, ending relationships well. If you don't like the girl, send her a text saying, thanks, I had a great time. Give her a Starbucks gift card, take her out to coffee. Do something nice so that she leaves with a good feeling about you and not anger. Sometimes you can't do anything to control that, but you can have good manners, and sometimes that makes a big difference.
Last question this morning, is this particular problem, going to exacerbate itself and become much bigger in our society, or is it something that can be nipped in the bud and maybe transitionalize and go back to normalcy?
Well, I am fearful that it's going to get worse, but one thing that everyone can do is contact their state representatives and let them know that they don't want any part of legislation that is a proponent of believe the victim, that you want there to be due process in investigations. So that is a very simple thing to do. There's even a number you can call, I think it's the Congress switchboard, and they will tell you who your representative is if you don't know. And let them know. Just speak out and let them know that you're not in favor of this.
So basically, for young men listening in the audience, there are certain kinds of personalities and vultures out there that are preying upon men to basically win a lot of money in a court case and destroy a young man's professional career.
Yes, but it's even a little bit scarier than that, because I think a lot of these women are not thinking about money. They are just angry and trying to lash out.
Wow.
So you don't even have, it's not even the money, which makes it worse, I feel like. They're just angry. So, yes, there are women who are they now have a tool in which to lash out at men if they are embarrassed or made angry in any way. And they are learning quickly as a group how to use this tool, and it's a very, very dangerous weapon.
Oh, my goodness. This lady's back in Nashville, Tennessee, one of my favorite cities, Music City, USA. Attorney Michelle Owens talking about Stop Abusive and Violent Environments. SAVE is the program. Michelle, I really enjoyed having you on the air, and I hope you'll consent to come back in the future.
Oh, I will. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. Very, very nice lady, very interesting lady, Attorney Michelle Owens. Wow, that problem's a lot bigger than I anticipated. We are going to send it back over to Wheels in just a moment for our break at the bottom of the hour. And as I stated before, I am so blessed to have a topic coming up this next half hour that I really can relate to, and that's the Old West in TV, westerns, and movies. Mr. Bob Terry out of Texas is going to be on our program, and I'm looking forward to it. But right now, we're going to send it back over to Wheels, and we will be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Welcome back, and thank you. We're in the last half hour of our program for today, and I'm going to do this segment for me. Every day we talk politics, and we talk economy, and we talk about sports. We talk about everything. Today, I want to talk about something that's very near and dear to me, and that's the Old West in Western movies and TV shows. And I found a gentleman, quite by accident. As I was going through the dial, I stopped on Ride TV, and here was Mr. Bob Terry from Texas talking about horses and TV serials and Western movies, and I thought, I've got to get this man on my program. So I'm going to say a good morning to him down in North Texas. Bob Terry, good to have you on the program.
Good morning, Zeb.
Thank you for taking the time to come on the show this morning, and I might tell everybody that I was watching Ride TV with a program called This Old Horse with Carly Twisselman. You were the guest on there, and boy, I was really infatuated with what you were talking about Mr. Ed and how they trained Mr. Ed for the TV series and everything, and I thought, I've got to get this guy on my program. Bob, how long have you been affiliated with Western movies, TV series, horses, etc.?
Oh, gosh, all my life. I grew up watching Western movies.
Now, you and I'm a little bit older than you, but I'm going to ask you some questions about the old TV series and the old actors, and maybe you can give me a kind of an up-to-speed on what some of them are doing or did after they quit the TV series. What about somebody like old Pat Brady on Roy Rogers, and, of course, the very famous horse Trigger and Dale Evans' horse Buttermilk? We know they went to a museum, but what about some of the other horses like Topper and Silver and Scout and Diablo? What do you know as far as any stories about them?
Well, let's talk about Topper a little bit. Bill Boyd used to ride him in parades and things, and Topper was a great horse. I mean, kids would come and pluck hairs out of his tail and stuff, and he wouldn't care, basically. I mean, he wouldn't do anything about it. He was a good horse, a very stable horse, and Bill Boyd didn't want another horse after him. I think the last time Topper appeared in a parade was in the early 60s. But he was quite the horse. He knew when the camera was on, and he would pose for the camera and stuff, it seemed like. I mean, he was quite a horse. And the way he died was he loved to get in his trailer. And I'm pretty sure I have this story correct. And one day he loaded up in his trailer and just laid down and died. Topper was an amazing horse. I remember just a little bit about how Bill Boyd found him. He was going out to look at him. I think that Grace went with him. I think they were together at that time, and I think they went out to see Topper together. It's been a while since I've read those stories or heard those stories.
Bob, I was going to ask you, some of the old-time greats, Roy Rogers and, of course, Gene Autry and Hopalong Cassidy and of course, the Lone Ranger and Tonto and everything, they were figureheads of Western TV series that kids could look up to, and that's a part of our society that may be gone forever. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't think it's gone forever. We have several in this country. We have lots of cultures within cultures. Now mainstream cowboys, what a lot of newer westerns are doing to the cowboys is just despicable. It's just awful. They're not really making westerns, like what a western's supposed to be as a general rule these days. You've got the Western dominated entertainment from the time entertainment began. I'm talking about 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo Bill. I have Buffalo Bill on several different films that I have. The real Buffalo Bill. We just released a short one where Buffalo Bill is introducing Prince Albert to Chief Plentycoops. And it's a silent from 1913. But Buffalo Bill was even in stuff in the late 1800s, I think.
Wow.
Very early 1900s. But all the way from there to about 1975 when Gunsmoke was taken off television, the Westerns dominated entertainment. Every kid wanted to be a cowboy. But there were a lot of things that killed the Western, and it wasn't the Western itself. It was production companies and things. You've got shows like today, a lot of the shows, they follow kind of the same formula as I Love Lucy. You've got a few people in an apartment cracking jokes, and people will tune in and watch that, whereas a Western was very expensive to keep up. You've got a whole, you've got a town. Sometimes the towns were actually inside of warehouses, but, outside you've got locations and things, and lots of people, lots of different town folk just walking through for scenery and stuff. And it was just expensive to make a Western.
Right. Bob, let me ask you this. I think one of the more recent day successes as a Western, was the movie Lonesome Dove, the miniseries. And, of course, Robert Duvall and the other actors in that portrayal of a cattle drive out of Texas all the way to Montana. The clothing was realistic. The equipment was realistic. The actors were phenomenal. And that really went over. Why aren't there more produced, though, when the public really enjoyed that kind of a genre?
Well, like I said, they're just expensive. There was Lonesome Dove was an expensive series to make. Lots of different locations, lots of different actors. Just very, very high dollar to make. That's just why they're not produced so much today. They just cost a lot of money, and the entertainment business is just getting so spread out. It's getting so the dollars are getting very thin and diluted because entertainment is everywhere.
Right.
We've actually launched December 31st. We launched a subscriber network just strictly for Westerns. And we have hundreds of films and the old radio shows on there now. And eventually, or pretty soon, we'll have thousands of films and radio shows and TV series shows. It's called WesternsChannel.com. And if people love Westerns, they can come there and see Westerns. Classic stuff. We keep it family friendly, like the Western had to be back in the 50s and in the 60s on television. And we produce several Western-based shows. We have Lost Treasures, The Old West, and then we have interview shows. I'm a producer. My wife and I are producers on Cheryl Rogers Barnett's new show, Along the Trail, and we'll have. Oh gosh, we've interviewed. We just released one with Wyatt McRae, Joe McRae's grandson, and we filmed with Red Stiegel, with Barry Corbin, with Bob Fuller. So we're producing new stuff, but as far as scripted stuff, we've produced a little bit, and we hope to produce more if the subscribers on our network want that.
Let me ask you this question as far as the actual production and direction of the Western movies. I think some of the all-time greats as far as the directing of movies, John Ford with John Wayne, and movies like She Wore a Yellow Ribbon and Rio Grande, and actors like Ben Johnson as a supporting actor and John Wayne, they just don't seem they have anything available like that today. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. Hollywood had a lot of changes in the 70s, from about 1969 on, and they kind of there was such a turnover, such a change. They kind of put a lot of the classic folks out to pasture in a way, and nobody could make a movie like John Ford. John Ford had been around since the silent days and making epics since the silent days. And he knew how to make a Western. These days, boy, you just don't have those kind of directors. And you just don't have the horses or the people with the character that the people had, A lot of actors today, they put an actor in a Western that's probably never even picked up a bale of hay,
Yeah.
So you just don't have the character like that. These people, you could see with the actors that they had been and done. You could just see that from their actions and what they would do and just the way they were.
And the realism and their ability to not only act, but ride a horse. And I'm really critical. I am really critical about people that get on a horse and they look like a sack of potatoes that's going to hit the ground any minute. And that adds to a farce as far as putting out realism in movies.
Oh, gosh, yeah. We've produced a no-budget Western. We've got 9 episodes out. And the people in ours are, one fella that's in ours was raised Amish. He's left the Amish, but he was raised Amish. He's driven teams of horses from his childhood up, and boy, he can ride. And then there's also another fella that was a champion bull rider, a world champion bull rider that's in our series. And then other folks, lots of cowboys, lots of people that were raised rural. So when you see people riding in our series, and it's just, like I said, it's a low-budget, no-budget series called Sundown, and if the subscribers of our network want more of it, then we're going to put a budget with it. But I've seen some of the new productions where, oh gosh, bad guys are riding into town, and there's a lot of daylight every time that horse takes a step. Between them and the saddle, it just looks awful.
I would like to give some credit, though, to some actors, and I'd like your comments on these people. I know these people personally, and I think they've done a good job portraying horsemanship on the screen. And I would say Tom Selleck, Robert Duvall, and even an old movie that I mentioned to you on the telephone a week ago. I was really impressed with the way that Clark Gable, in the movie called The Tall Men, a story about a cattle drive up to Montana, was really an excellent horseman and looked like it in the movies.
Well, a lot of those fellas, Tom Selleck and Robert Duvall, they ride a horse well. They do. But these guys, it's their business to be able to do that, and they're not in low budget stuff. They're the real deal. My buddy Dean Smith, when you see Robert Duvall in True Grit, and the very final scene you see him in when he gets shot off the horse, when the shot happens and the fellow falls off the horse, that's not Duvall. That's my buddy Dean Smith. He's quite the stunt man. He stunted for everybody. But Clark Gable, yes, he could ride. It's very, I don't know, with me and with a lot of my friends, it's common knowledge that when these guys when an actor would go to Hollywood when the heyday of the Westerns were going on, you had directors or producers, they thinking about hiring an actor, and they'd ask them, one of the first things they'd ask them, well, can you ride a horse? And from the beginning of movies, from 1903's the Great Train Robbery, Bronco Billy said, oh, yeah, I was born in the saddle, but he couldn't ride. And they changed his character, what he did when they found him getting on the wrong side of a horse. But these guys would say, yeah, I can ride. And immediately, production may not have started yet, but immediately they'd go out and find somebody to take lessons from, like at maybe Glenn Randall's place or Hudkins or Fat Jones. They would run to a stable and say, I need to learn to ride. Jack Palance said he could ride, and when they filmed Shane, he was supposed to run that horse up to the front of Grafton's. Okay,
right.
And they tried it several times, and it just was awful. So finally, the director had him walk the horse up there, which actually worked a lot better, I think. It was very menacing looking, but yeah, these guys, they had to ride because there were so many westerns. Westerns dominated Hollywood, and if you couldn't ride, you're not going to get cast in 50% of what's being made.
Absolutely. I want to talk a little bit about the stunts. I've got about 4 minutes left in this segment, Bob, but you talked about stuntmen, and so many great stuntmen and great stunts from the older movies. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to ask you, because I don't know for sure if this is true, but that is one of the reasons why Ben Johnson became an accomplished actor, was because he was such a great horseman and a former world's champion team roper. Wasn't he doing stunts for a John Wayne movie, and John Ford put him in as a speaking part?
I think Ben did. That's the way he started. He rode a train with some cattle that they'd sold, and he rode it out to California, and he ended up staying. And I believe he started out as stunt doubling for people, riding and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when he broke his foot, when they were making that movie. It's a John Ford movie.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Whitmark's in it. I'm going to kick myself later. I can't remember the title of this movie. But they were making this movie, and this was later, and Ben Johnson was hooking up a trailer, and the trailer fell on the tongue of the trailer fell on his foot, broke his foot. So, again, he had to get somebody to stunt double for him. He got my friend Dean Smith to double for him, called him and said, look, I got to get you to help me.
Oh, my.
But, yeah, Ben was quite the horseman. Amazing. I love watching him in the Fort movies. I love watching him ride. He is an amazing horseman.
Yeah, I absolutely had the honor of meeting that man before he passed away. And, let me ask you real quick, and I'm down to a minimum of time, but you're also the CEO of Wild West Toys. What's that all about, Bob?
Well, Wild West Toys is official website, shopping cart site is toyguntown.com. I need to get that plug in there. And we manufacture cat pistols, old-time Western cat pistols here in the United States. We own about 150 toy molds that were made back in the 50s and the 60s. And the typical cap gun mold that makes a die-cast metal premium cap gun, typical mold weighs about 1,000 pounds. And we acquired these years ago and started in this business. It's a very fun business to be in. And we carry cat pistols from all over the world, but when we make stuff, we make it here in America.
Now, is there a catalog where people can pick and choose what they'd like to order? How do they go about finding out more?
We don't do a printed catalog anymore. It's just too expensive. But you can go to toyguntown.com and see our selection. It's quite extensive, and we carry about 70 or 75 different models of American-made cat pistols, and then we carry holsters and all kinds of stuff.
I'm going to ask you to come back in the future. I'm sure we could kind of sit back and put our boots up on the railing and just have a good conversation. Bob Terry down in North Texas, thank you so much, and I'll look forward to asking you back in the future.
Thank you, Zeb. I enjoyed it, and hope everything goes well with your show. And I hope folks enjoy this episode. Thanks for considering me for it.
All right, sir. I'll be in touch, and thank you again, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Have a wonderful day.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Bob Terry, and I saw him on television, and I said, man, I've got to get him on the air because he knows and enjoys the same type of things I do with the Old West and the actors and the movies and the horses, and I'll have him back in the future. Right now, we've got to get a weather forecast on here. I'm almost out of time. Scarrows Meats with Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657, and you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Delicious meats, whether it's breakfast sausages or bacon or prime rib. Wow, it's all there for you to enjoy at Scarrows Meats in Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
We are in a wind advisory, so if you drive a high-profile vehicle, please be careful. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. We're looking at cloudy skies for today, and we are in a wind advisory. Gusts possible as high as 40 miles an hour, steady winds out of the west, 20 to 25 miles an hour. Mostly sunny skies for today, high of 42 tonight. Partly cloudy skies, winds dying down just a little bit, low of 30. Tomorrow we do have a 20% chance of rain showers in the afternoon. Mostly cloudy skies, high near 48. Still going to be windy and could see gusts as high as 30 miles an hour for Thursday night. 40% chance of rain and or snow showers in the forecast with a low of 36. And for Friday, partly sunny skies and 44. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Nobody does it better than Scarrows Meats with Don Scarrow. I got to get Don on the program again and visit with him. Oh, my. I just enjoy the way that business has grown, and the meat is delicious. Absolutely. Get a hold of them today. 324-7657, 331 North Road, Jerome. Scarrows Meats. The best. Changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. What have we got cooking for tomorrow on the program? I'll tell you that real quick. We, of course, the first hour are going to have an open forum, and then at 9:06, the Chamber of Commerce report. And then, let's see, what have we got? Joel Heward is going to be on the program at 9:18 tomorrow morning. Rita Ramsey is going to be on tomorrow, along with one of my very favorite guests and extremely knowledgeable, and that's Dr. Elena George from Atlanta, Georgia, talking about Obamacare, where it is now, what's left of it, and what's going to happen in the future. So don't miss that. Dr. Elena George tomorrow at 10:32. Want to say a big thank you to our major sponsor, and that's your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and serving is the key word because doing the right thing matters, and they do the right thing for you. Absolutely. With all the traction tires for the winter driving on the snow and the ice and the muck and the yuck and all that, man, they want to make sure that you get to where you're going safely and come home safely. And of course, besides all the tires, they of course have the best in brake service and front end alignments and shocks and struts and batteries. So stop in and see the real true professionals that care about your safe driving. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Yep, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. That's going to do it for today. We're going to put it back in the box and put the lid on it and be back here again tomorrow morning at 8:06 and start things all over again right here on Zeb at the Ranch, 12:30 a.m., K-Bar, and streaming live all over the country on ZebBell.com. Thank you for your calls. Thank you for your input. And remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. See you tomorrow morning.